Well, to a certain extent, it reflects the global trading system becoming victimized by its own success. We made so much progress in reducing the traditional at-the-border trade barriers, things like tariffs and quotas, that trade negotiators increasingly turn their attention to instances of behind-the-border protectionism. And at the same time, we saw an increase in protectionism behind the border to offset some of the market access that had been created by the tariff cuts. There's a variety of things that governments can do in their regulatory system, in their legal system, in the way they set technical standards that can subtly or not so subtly give an advantage to domestic firms at the expense of foreign companies. I think the assumption all along, particularly at the onset of China's accession to the WTO, was that China was eventually and inevitably going to become, quote unquote, just like the United States and adopt Washington consensus economic principles. That certainly hasn't proven to be the case. China's state-directed capitalism model is more entrenched than ever and arguably has now put it in a position where it can challenge U.S. technological supremacy in some of the cutting-edge industries of tomorrow. The specific disputes that we see playing out are really reflective of a larger systemic challenge. How do you reconcile two fundamentally different economic systems under a single global trade architecture? In the United States, you've got a traditionally market-driven economy pursuing free trade policies, and in the case of China, you've got a centrally managed economy with a state-directed capitalism model pursuing quasi-mercantilist trade policies. Most of the frictions and disputes we see between the United States reflect these two very different systems now increasingly bumping up against each other as the size and technological sophistication of China's economy increases. To a large extent, the frictions that we see today have really been brewing for quite some time. The middle class in the United States, at least in real economic terms, has seen its wages be flat for 15, if not longer years. And there's an increasing feeling, correct or incorrectly, that it's attributable to trade and that to a large degree specifically to China. In that sense, President Trump is a symptom, not the cause, and I think even if we had an administration of President Hillary Clinton, we'd be in largely the same situation we're in today. I think we're at the stage now where virtually every major policy decision that comes in front of the White House is going to be evaluated in terms of whether it is an asset or a liability for the president's re-election campaign. If any agreement with China can be credibly spun as a quote-unquote victory, I think the president will be happy to embrace it. If, on the other hand, the best agreement that's available would leave the president vulnerable to charges that he somehow caved in or went soft on China, then I think the overwhelming political imperative will be to walk away from the deal and for the president to attempt to try to position himself as the first U.S. president strong enough to stand up to China.